Well, my friends, it is finally time. In this video, I'm going to give you my experience after 6 months using the iPhone 15 Pro as my personal phone. I uploaded an unboxing video for this phone a couple months ago, and since then I've used it every single day to take a bunch of pictures, to film videos you have seen in this channel, to play games, to watch videos, to use social media, and well, of course, after all these time, I have a lot of things to say. I should also let you know that I review a bunch of phones in this channel. So during this video, I will compare the iPhone 15 Pro to some of these phones so you can get a better idea on how good or how bad it is. As always, I want to start by talking about the exterior design. As I also said in the unboxing, there are some things that I don't really like. Apple has changed the material used on the side frames from stainless steel to titanium, a metal that, as many of you know, is lighter, tougher, and that therefore does a better job at protecting the internal components. But it also has some flaws, like that you can't really change its color. As opposed to the other metals, titanium can be modified to change colors. So Apple had to paint the titanium on the iPhone 15 Pro to make it blue, black, or white. Obviously, at first glance, it's not really noticeable, but if you take a closer look, you soon notice that the colors look a little off after touching them, and how if you accidentally scratch it when it's in your pocket, it can even peel that paint and reveal the real color. But what really struck me the wrong way was that because titanium is such a difficult metal to refine, Apple couldn't give it the typical glossy finish we usually saw in the other Pro phones, and that made them a lot more luxurious than the basic models. But well, I have to admit that, as many users have already reported, the iPhone 15 Pro is considerably more comfortable when you hold it in your hand. In fact, I would even say that this is the most ergonomic iPhone I've ever tried, because it combines the grippiness you get with flat sides and the softness of rounded corners. So it doesn't feel like it's going to slip out of your hands, but you also don't have to deal with pointy corners hurting your fingers. And on top of this, it is also considerably lighter thanks to the titanium. So if you didn't really like how the iPhone 14 Pro felt when you had it in your hands, this will probably be a welcome upgrade. Something that has really caught my attention is that many users have experienced heat issues when using this new iPhone, especially when playing one of the new console games that just came out. And I say that it caught my attention because after 6 months of usage, I haven't really had any temperature issues with my unit. As I said earlier, I've pretty much tried everything there is to try with this new iPhone, including playing Resident Evil Village at the highest settings possible with an external controller connected to a TV, which is pretty much the most demanding thing you can do right now. And despite all this, the iPhone has always kept a normal and expected temperature similar to the ones I've seen on other iPhones from previous years. As many of you know, this is one of the first iPhones to include USB-C, something that's going to add a lot of new possibilities on what you can do with the phone. And I'm very surprised to see that Apple hasn't really restricted the port. They've actually opened it up to any kind of USB-C accessory, like for example, this Android controller originally meant for Android phones now also works on my iPhone because it has a USB-C port. And if you buy any USB-C to HDMI cable on Amazon, you will be able to connect your iPhone 15 Pro to any TV or monitor you have at home. To be honest, I never thought I would be able to do this with an iPhone. Being able to play the new Resident Evil game with my PS5 controller comfortably sitting in my couch, it's the craziest experience that I've ever had with a new iPhone in a long time. And if what you want is to do productivity work, you can connect it to your desk monitor and to a Bluetooth keyboard and start organizing your notes as if you had a big computer. Although, well, even though Apple lets you connect a keyboard, they don't really let you connect a mouse. So as soon as you need to move around the app or correct a typo, you will need to go back to touch controls, which feels a little unintuitive. And as you can see, you also get these ugly bars at the top and bottom of the monitor because Apple doesn't let the iPhone adapt to different aspect ratios. But since these new functionalities are only a couple months old, I trust that with enough time, Apple will fix all of these issues to provide a better experience. Another big surprise that I had with the new iPhone is that it has 8 GB of RAM, something that I didn't really see a lot of people talk about, but that actually has has a very big impact in your experience when using the phone, because having more memory means you can keep more apps in multitasking. And my experience has improved dramatically because of this. I consider myself to be a normal user with only a couple apps that I use in my day-to-day life, and 90% of the time I don't really have to wait for any app to load up because it's already loaded up in the background. Although not everything can be perfect. I couldn't help but to notice that there are some little bugs and crashes around the system. Like, for example, sometimes the iPhone doesn't let me turn down the volume when I'm using Instagram. It only happens on Instagram, not in any other app, but to fix it I have to restart the phone. Or that sometimes the red light that you see when recording video or audio doesn't turn off, even if you've deleted every app from the background, and then again, to fix it, you have to restart the phone. These issues have only appeared like 1 or 2 times, and for the most part, my experience has been absolutely impeccable. But I felt like you needed to know that the old Apple with perfectly optimized hardware and software has become a little bit less perfect. When it comes to the battery life, I have to say I'm pleasantly surprised. During this now 6 months using the phone, I've used it for about 5 hours a day on average, and I always get to bed with about 40 to 50% remaining, which is something that I'm very grateful for, because traditionally smaller phones always got a tiny crappy battery that lasted like 3.5 hours, and I always had to charge them multiple times during the day. Oh, and by the way, I didn't forget, I'm aware that one of the main new features on this new iPhone is the action button that allows you to activate pretty much any app or toggle on the phone. The problem is that I don't really think it's that big of an update. When I first got the phone, I spent a few minutes taking a look at the app where you can change and select the functionality of the button, and I decided to make it automatically open the camera, thinking that I would often use it to take pictures of birds or of moving objects that I wouldn't have been able to capture before because I had to manually turn on the phone and open the camera. But after 6 months, I've only used it 1 time when I found this strange man in the streets and I wanted to take a quick video of him before he left. So yeah, I'm currently searching for a better purpose for the action button. So if any of you are geeks like me and have tested all the different shorts possibilities and found something interesting, please tell me in the comments. In terms of the display, there is not much to say, mainly because it's almost identical to the one on the old model. Besides, it's new, slightly thinner bezels. So I'm going to focus on the camera because I do have a bunch of things to say about the cameras on the iPhone 15 Pro. First, I want to tell you about the new protection layer on the lenses of every camera on the back of the phone. They were supposed to avoid light refractions when you made videos at night, but they couldn't. They couldn't avoid, at least in my unit, they couldn't avoid refractions when you record video at night. As you can see, comparing it to the iPhone XS that I had before this iPhone 15 Pro, there's definitely an improvement on how many light refractions you can see and how intense they are, but they are still, there, that you can still see them and they still annoy you and ruin the video. So please, Apple, fix this on the iPhone 16. Another thing that I wanted to show you, and this one is for those of you who have older iPhones, is that Apple has heavily increased the amount of processing done to the images to optimize the quality and the overall result. But because it's such an advanced processing technique, it actually takes a couple seconds for the phone to finish touching the photo. So if you hit the button and rapidly go to the gallery and take a look at the image, you'll see that after a couple seconds, it changes its colors and contrast and detail because the phone finished processing the final version. I'm not sure if this is good or bad, but I just felt like you needed to know. That being said though, in the video department, I found quite the opposite evolution. As opposed to older iPhones, this new model processes the videos it takes a lot less than it normally did, giving them a look very close to what you can see on a DSLR camera. Although personally, I didn't really like this. I preferred the more processed and sharp video iPhones used to produce, but I guess you can always correct it in post, and this is very subjective. You should also know that macro photos have improved once again, and that for the first time, I'm starting to see convincing results using this mode. Even though I've ruined a lot of pictures when in this mode, because since you get so close to the object, a very small movement just makes it all look blurred up. So yeah, disclaimer, if you're going to take macro photos, be very careful. Probably my biggest disappointment with this iPhone has been that one more year it maintains the same ultra wide camera, and therefore one more year I've barely used it. Because since it's so much worse than the main camera on the phone, I always try to use the main camera on the phone as much as possible, even though sometimes taking a photo with a little bit wider angle would make a better result. But as you can see, comparing them side by side, there is a noticeable difference in quality from the 0.5x to the 1x. So yeah, if you don't really need to take an ultra wide photo, I would recommend you use the main sensor. And even though I would love to tell you all about the new Pro codecs and formats you can record on, like ProRes log at 10-bit color, I don't really use or need any of these things, both on my personal life or to make any of my videos. So since I haven't really used them, there's not much I can say. But after watching a couple of videos on the topic, it really seems like Apple has done an amazing job. And I wouldn't be surprised if I start seeing iPhones being used as B cameras in TV shows or movies. The only thing left is to tell you that as of right now, this iPhone has a very good price on Amazon. And since I assume a lot of you after watching this video are interested in buying it, I left a link in the description so you can check that amazing price. And if that's not the case, I sincerely thank you for watching all the way through, and I hope to see you very soon in a new video.